You made it to day 2 of the Active Moms Challenge. Today we're going to talk all about your pelvic floor. If you're not even sure what this term is, think about your pelvic floor as a hammock that sits at the end of your pelvis and supports your internal organs. We will discuss where the pelvic floor is, how it works, talk about my take on Kegels, practice some breath work, and review practical tips for engaging your pelvic floor with activities you're already doing. Let me share a secret. All of our pelvic floors change with pregnancy and not just birth. So no matter how you brought your sweet babes into the world, our pelvic floor needs time to recover and may need some reconnecting with too. The wonderful news is your core and your pelvic floor work together. So a few of my tips yesterday we are already covered may already be helping you to connect with your pelvic floor without even knowing it. As we get started, here's a quick reminder that this challenge is for educational and informational purposes for those with clearance to exercise. This is not medical advice or a replacement for physical therapy, and if you need physical therapy, feel free to reach out to me directly and I'll help you find resources to connect with so that you can find one too. So we're going to go ahead and dive into a short anatomy lesson. And I want you to think about your trunk region as a pop can. Your pelvic floor is going to be the bottom of the can, so pelvic floor, bottom of the can. And then your diaphragm, or the muscle that sits under your lungs and assists with breathing, sits parallel to your pelvic floor at the top of the can. And your abs and your trunk muscles are the side walls of the can that wrap around like a corset. Or think about it like a back brace. And similar to the can, there are pressure changes that can happen when forces are applied either externally, like squeezing the can, or internally, like shaking the can. So the way we use our bodies can help manage pressure to allow for just enough pressure to facilitate healing, recovery, and gradually strengthening of things like the separation between our abdominals, or changes to our pelvic floors that have occurred with pregnancy and birth. So now that you know how things work together, let's put it into practice. If you have an exercise ball, I'm going to have you sit on that. If not, that's a-okay. You're just going to find a sturdy chair to sit on. So we're going to get acquainted with our pelvic floors, and I want you to start just by placing your feet flat on the ground. Then I want you to grab your sits bones, so essentially the bones that you sit on. So the bones that you're grabbing on the inside are going to look like this for my pelvis model. This is the front, this is the side. So as you're grabbing your sits bones, you're going to notice how close together they are. Can you spread your sits bones at all? So kind of try to spread them out and make a wider foundation to sit on. Like I said in the beginning, your pelvic floor bones sit at the bottom of your pelvis and they attach to various points on your pelvis like these sits bones. So paying attention to these bones gives us an idea of what is going on in your pelvic floor. We're going to do a breathing exercise in this position to start engaging with our pelvic floor. As you breathe, your diaphragm should be moving down to allow for room for the incoming air in your lungs. Remember our pop can example? Your pelvic floor should be moving down too because it's moving in parallel with the diaphragm, and that diaphragm's moving down because of that increasing pressure with the air filling the lungs. And then when you breathe out, the opposite will happen. So your diaphragm moves up as the air exits the lungs. So let's try some deep, gentle breaths in sitting. You're going to breathe in and let the bottom of your ribs expand in all directions. Let your belly expand a little, and then also let your pelvic floor press down into the surface that you're sitting on. You don't want to have any tension or activation. We're just breathing right now. So as you breathe out, you're going to allow everything to relax. So try a few breaths with me like that. So if you want to, you can put your hands on your rib cage just to feel that movement here too. So I like to start with a breath out. Breathe all the way out. move around in your seat if you need to kind of feel a little bit more pressure on your pelvic floor. If you're not on the ball, you can put like a rolled up towel under your pelvic floor to feel that pressure. One more breath. So you're just working on relaxing on your breath in and allowing that pelvic floor to relax down to the ball. Now, because I said pelvic floor, you may be thinking of Kegels, or also called Kegels. I'm not going to tell you that you should be doing Kegels. Kegels have their time and place like many other exercises. They can be a great way to start reconnecting with your pelvic floor after birth. However, some women struggle with pelvic floor tightness. So not every woman needs to be doing Kegels. Just like your biceps, our pelvic floors are meant to move through ranges of motions and not just be kind of contracted and held for periods all day long. Our pelvic floors are closely connected with our hip muscles and our lower abdominals, so working these muscle groups will help you connect with your pelvic floors as well. I'm going to go over how you might use a Kegel as you do something like squatting to pick up your baby. And we're going to go ahead and practice with a Kegel on the ball, just to give you an example. So you're going to take a deep breath in, relax your pelvic floor. Now as you exhale, exhale all the way and gently draw your pelvic floor up and off of the chair or the ball as if you're picking up a marble off of your seat with your pelvic floor. You're just going to make sure that you fully relax through 2 breaths before trying this again. So notice what your sits bones are doing during this exercise. Your sits bones should be separate as you relax, and then they should be gently drawing together as you activate. So I'm going to let you practice that again. And we're just going to do that with our breathing. So relax and breath in. Separating our sits bones, and then breathe out. And if you want to do a Kegel here, you might feel just a gentle drawing together of those sits bones as you think about lifting the pelvic floor. So no bearing down, nothing like that. You're drawing up and in. So let's try that one more time. Relax, breath in. Gentle drawing in as you breathe out. And for me, the movements are very subtle when I'm checking at my sits bones. So use that feedback from the surface that you're sitting on to kind of notice you either relaxing into the surface or drawing up and away from the surface. Now, as you squat to pick up your baby, you may choose to take a deep breath as you lower yourself and take a breath out while you pick them up. If you're incorporating a Kegel, gently lift your pelvic floor as you're breathing out. So remember how they work together. And this is not something that you need to do all of the time, all of your life. This is just one strategy that you can use if you're trying to reconnect with your pelvic floor and your lower abdominals. What's more important to me than you doing Kegels is that you're able to take breaths that allow expansion of your rib cage as you do challenging tasks. So as always, if you're doing Kegels due to leakage or pelvic organ prolapse or some other condition, make sure that you consult with your own women's health PT about the best way for you to connect with your pelvic floor. My homework from today for you is going to be to practice deep breathing throughout the day. If you're doing a challenging activity, try to use your breath work with it. You're going to use the exhale to connect with the strength within your core and your pelvic floor. And you can even incorporate this deep breathing into day 1's core exercise when you do that later this week, since you've already scheduled time for that. Thanks for joining me for day 2 of the Active Moms Challenge. I do want to just give you a reminder that there's still a giveaway happening in the Active Mamas group. One lucky mama will win a free Active Mamas Postpartum Foundations workshop seat. This is a 6-week virtual group fitness workshop that I'm running starting in January. And just a reminder, here's what you need to do to participate. You need to comment on this video or the future challenge video tomorrow in the Active Mamas Facebook group, and you need to invite one friend into the group. So see the giveaway post in the group for full details, and I'll see you tomorrow when we put it all together.